That fell off the ring there. Isn't it funny, the things we do? Sorry, the board a-hole here. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining Gerald, the fitness mascot, and Stanley, the gains giraffe. That's right, they support me in all my fitness endeavors. Although today, we're actually going to be going back to professional wrestling. Now, when I was doing a lot of professional wrestling before the global pandemic hit, I used to react to my matches a lot because I thought it was cool. I thought it gave some insight into my brain and what I was thinking, blah, blah, blah. And recently, I found a match that I didn't know existed on YouTube about 3 or 4 weeks ago now. And we did it here on the channel, and there was a great reception to it. People asked me to do more, so I was all right. So I scoured YouTube once again, and I found other matches that I did. This one is from November 2019, so essentially a month before the one we did before with Reach Wrestling. This is EWA, an awesome company here in the UK. Definitely go and check them out. Just search for EWA Wrestling and they should come out. And I was fighting Brandon Thomas, who is quite we'll call him a journeyman, but I mean that in a positive way, of the UK wrestling scene. And the reason this was so cool was for 2 reasons. I'll give you a bit of context before we get into it. The first is that the whole thing was unplanned. Brandon got there late by no fault of his own. And also, I think he's kind of a guy, you must have heard in wrestling, some people plan their spots, some people don't. He was the latter. And it's the first time I've ever gone out into a wrestling ring, not really knowing what we were going to do. And second of all, it had a bit of a gimmick, a bit of a stipulation to it, because, I'm the rookie, which I am, super green. He's the experienced veteran. And so the storyline, if you watch wrestling, you would have seen this 1,000 times, was, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to beat me because that's all the time I can be bothered to give you. And I bet you can't even beat me in 10 minutes. So therefore, I've got a 10-minute time limit to try and beat him. So we will start the video right now. Kabam, there we go. I'm going to turn it down because you don't need that bleed on the thing. And essentially, here he is setting up the challenge. And in fact, we don't even need to. We can skip on to this bit. This is just him setting up the challenge, doing a promo, as we do in wrestling. I get a microphone and say, yeah, baby, I'm already in the ring. Let's get into it. There we go. We'll start there. That makes sense. And I was terrified. Let's not pretend otherwise. I was absolutely terrified because it's scary enough and it's intimidating enough being a professional wrestler, especially with the high level of quality that we have today, be it in America, USA, Canada, over here, whatever. So, because you want to put on good matches. That's like basically the minimum to be a wrestler now, is to have good matches. And here, we had a basic structure, but it was mostly going to be me, look at me slapping my head like a moron. It was basically me going to be listening to him as he walked me through the match. You need to be attentive, you need to be on it, but you also need to be listening to the crowd. There's a hell of a lot of stuff that goes into it. He powers me into the corner here, and then I think he's going to threaten to punch me if I recall. That's right, threatens to punch me. I'm like, how dare you threaten me? How dare you embarrass my bald head in this way? Then he starts doing star jumps or jumping jacks. I can't say the American phrases because people go crazy off the record. Much prefer jumping jacks, not off the record at all. I just said it on camera. So look, straight away, we've established this. I need to, he knows what to do to run rings around me, and that's no good. And he's not a small man either. Like I'm 6'1", in my boots maybe 6'1.5". And he's taller than I am, I think. Is he? I'm pretty sure he was, yeah. Look at my lace is undone on the one thing I was taught is when you boot, don't let your lace hang out. Look at me there like a schmo with my lace hanging out. But this time, look, he's going to go to punch me or slap me. But now I'm ready. I'm into it. I'm like, yeah, you want to hit me? Do it, pal. Properly. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And then here, you won't have seen it. He said, push me. So I pushed him. It's amazing, isn't it, pro wrestling? What an incredible art form. And then this is one of the things that we did have planned beforehand. He was like, give me the spear nice and early. Of course I do the spear. Not my best spear. That's more like a rugby tackle, but it works. And hopefully I get the audio levels right. The crowd kind of bought it, which I enjoyed. Now, something else I noticed that you that fell off the ring there. Isn't it funny, the things we do? Too amped. Too much adrenaline. I'm supposed to be a good guy and I can't even climb up the ropes. Now, I'd never done the 10 punches before. They were more like rabbit punches. That was more like I was trying to punch my way into a chocolate bar. But it's incredible watching yourself back body drop, because you remember, you realize that you're not doing stuff over the top enough. And that's why it's so beneficial to watch it back. And it was things like this. I don't even remember doing that. But obviously I scrambled to go and get him, because I knew that I only had 10 minutes. And this is what I wanted to talk about today. I think one of the best things about not planning things is I get in my own head so badly. I'm like, what are we doing next? What are we doing after that? What are we doing here? What are we doing there? And I'm not living in the moment, right? I'm not reacting to the situation like I'm reacting now. But here, I think because I had to stay close to Brandon and I had to listen to what he was going to say and I had to make sure I was, living in the moment. I just reacted as I would have done anyway. So I knew that I had 10 minutes. He's got out of the ring. Well, I better go get him. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of time. And it's one of those things I'm actually gutted that I can't go try this out for real. Like, hopefully I could have done a smaller show. No disrespect to the smaller show, but it would just given me more confidence. And said to my opponent, look, let's come up with the finish. Who's going to win, who's going to lose. Let's come up with the finish. But everything else, let's just call it on the fly. Now, that person would have to be experienced. I'm sure some people are a natural at it, like they are in all walks of life, like having good genetics in bodybuilding. But it's not an easy thing to do, and I enjoyed this too. I mean, you can kind of see it coming a mile away, but I don't mind that in professional wrestling. I'm just trying to do a German or roll him up or something, and he boots me right in the balls, and I sell it like I've got a huge penis. And maybe I do, maybe I don't. I don't feel like this is the time to have that kind of conversation, but I kind of regret saying it, not going to lie. Also, there's children here. Look, we've got Gerald and Stanley. They don't need to hear this stuff. And then, like, he's the bad guy, I'm the good guy, as I'm sure you figured out. And now he's going to go work on me, and he's going to beat me up. But again, the cool thing is that he's relaying all this information to me as we go. And I mean, I understand what some people are going to say, because I always get it and stuff like this. Also, this move always hurts. Can't fake that. No one teaches you how to lay on a rope and someone smashes their thigh and their hamstring into your head. Doesn't exist. Yeah, but sometimes people go, it's not a very big crowd. Like, yeah, I'm an independent UK professional wrestler. Not every show is WrestleMania, dingus. But the other criticisms are always, well, you do it in front of that many people. It's not, I tell you. And I haven't ever wrestled in front of super duper big crowds. Get out the way. Yeah, take that. You hit my balls, I'll hit your balls. Interesting. But it can be intimidating because it's such an intimate setting. And in many ways, if you make a mistake, it's going to be amplified even more. I get whipped. There's nothing. I don't know why I enjoy getting whipped. I enjoy whipping into the ropes and being whipped into the ropes. And you would have noticed this from my last video. There it is. My super flying shoulder tackle again. And some people will say, Millie, you need more moves. And I always go back to Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Stone Cold Steve Austin has admitted this. He only had 5 moves. I enjoyed how quick I was there as well. I mean, I've gone through a lot of my old matches, especially with some of my coaches. And you never want to be too quick in wrestling. You must have heard it time and time again. Like, if you're going too slow, slow down. Right? That's what people say. You should be really slow. But I enjoyed there's a difference between allowing the audience to buy into the moves you've just sold and tell a story, compared to just being lackadaisical. And in some of my matches, I'm just down for too long. And we've gone way past it now. But the fact I got right back up onto my feet, I just think there's a sense of urgency there, which again ties into the story of the match. You've only got 10 minutes. And he's choking me with his t-shirt then as well. This referee, man. Referees in wrestling. You must have noticed that he's tucked his shirt into his pants. Why would you let him do that? Look, he's getting worked. Then I have to get choked. That's the death move. I'll die if I can't breathe. We talked about this before. The one thing you need in life before anything else is breath. If you're not breathing in oxygen, something terrible has happened. But for the people because sometimes, last one I should say, some people watched the video that don't necessarily watch wrestling, and they were quite fascinated by it, which I thought was cool. And this is what is known. This is just him, putting the beating on down me, and now this is me trying to fight back because I'm the good guy. I want to prove to everyone I've got some spirit in me. And Brandon actually gave me such good advice, some of the best advice I've ever got. He said, if I ever punch you, punch me back. And I said, okay, cool, but I didn't say why, but he just followed on. And he was like, because what would you do in the street if somebody punched you and they didn't knock you out? You'd punch them right back. And when I watched this back for the first time, which was a while ago, I do remember thinking to myself, that does look more realistic. Because who the hell gets punched and just flops unless you actually get KO'd? So, yeah, he was, I do want to say that he was awesome. He helped me so much. He gave me so much confidence. And he walked me through it. I mean, that's a deer in the headlight moment. But look, it's the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. Not the most graceful one I've ever done. But you got to learn with this stuff. And then I didn't sell that boot well enough at all. But again, we've again said this many, many a time. I'm happy to make mistakes. I really, really, truly am. And it's kind of embarrassing when you watch them back like this. Again, just booting me in my bald head. Like, I haven't had enough bad luck with my head already, but it can be quite embarrassing watching stuff like this, because I get that most people would have watched WWE or AEW, whatever, which is to such a high standard. But it's whether you're making YouTube videos, whether you're making music, whether you're doing wrestling, I don't know, whatever you're doing in your life. Maybe you're a finance person. If you don't go over the old stuff that you've done and tried to learn from it, how can you get better? It's all about experience. And there's a big... Well, I find anyway, it's the feeling you get after a match in wrestling when you kind of know whether it went good or bad or not. And while I knew there's another mistake later on as well, by me, Brandon didn't do anything. But it's the way you feel afterwards. And I remember after this one, I felt pretty good. And I felt pretty excited. I wanted to have another match. And that's kind of, I think that's always a good sign that maybe you've done something, or you hope you've done something right anyway. And I tell you, those kind of big uppercuts you get and elbows like that. The reason they look like they hurt because they hurt. They hurt really, really badly. But I don't, looking back in hindsight, I think I much prefer the whole... I mean, it depends on the situation, I'm sure. Gives me a suplex, bam. But I think there's something about the it's like I do a lot of I used to do a lot of hosting, a lot of live hosting, and the thing I loved about it the most is that there's no net. If you make a mistake, you're going to have to clear it up because you're live. There's an audience in front of you, and that's the same here. And I think I got a massive kick out of not knowing and knowing that, having, like I say, having to stay close to Brandon and everything like that. Look at that kind of move too. That's just not comfortable at all. I'm going to break his back, his rhomboids and his traps, and I'm going to try and rip his head off. And then he kneed me elbowed me right in my bald spot. My poor bald spot, which I don't like, which I'm not a fan of. And by the way, if I ever grow too long, it's just grey now as well. I'm not even that old. I went grey at 16. Embarrassing. And it is genetic. Sometimes people don't know. And then, yeah, that one. I think I was meant to run out and hit him, and I forgot. So I kind of just flailed, which is why I remember this, but I don't remember if it tied into the bit before, but he said, put your leg up. I remember that. So what does that mean? And my brain went, well, just do it. Just put your leg up. So I did. And thankfully, it kind of worked. Kind of didn't. But yeah, I remember that. You have so many panics in wrestling because there are spots that people call. And you don't know them every time. So it's just like, well, I better do something. I think this was one as well. I mean, I just slipped out of him there. But I honestly, look, I don't put myself over a lot to use proper wrestling lingo. I was happy that I just jumped right back on him and slammed him with some clotheslines. I was like, you know what? Just do that, and then we'll get back to where we need to go. Give him a slam, try and G up the crowd a bit. See, I don't know about you. It depends what you like from wrestling. But that's a really simple, basic thing, like clothesline, body slam, side slam. And again, I'm not saying me doing it. It's just that I think when you do it right and you do it with enough moxie, it works. I should have pinned him far quicker, given that I've only got the 10-minute time limit. But of course, he kicks out. I should mention, because I've turned the volume down on this, because I'll make sure it's live in the edit. The fire alarm went off halfway through by accident. It was just one of those things. But that massively confused me, because I was like, is that the 10-minute buzzer? Have we already done it? I think some of the audience thought it too, so that was hilarious. That's just one of those things that life throws at you. And from a story point of view, I remember having a chat with somebody about this. I should have been all over him here. Like I like the fact I'm slapping my head because I'm like an absolute goon and it makes me chuckle. But if you've only got 10 minutes, you got to buy into the reality of the situation. You wouldn't be waiting for him. You'd go get him. But I do go to hit my finishing move. He's too big for me. And he rolls me up. And I'm not sure whether you're going to hear. Basically, 1, 2, and then the buzzer goes. So he had me beat. But I survived for the 10 minutes. It's the oldest wrestling story in the book. So technically, he's won. But technically, I have won his challenge. Point is, I really enjoyed this match. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm not saying it's a 5-star classic. I'm not saying it's the best thing you're ever going to see. But for my first time, 99% sure it's my first time of going out there with no plan whatsoever, I was a happy chap. That's why I thought I'd share it with you today. Now, I will continue to try and find matches. Maybe we'll even go back and do some of my earlier ones. If you want it, let me know in the comments below. I'm not going to react to ones I've already reacted to. That's stupid. You can just search the channel. But yeah, I want to give back. And you said you enjoyed it. A lot of people watched it, which is always nice. And then afterwards, yeah, he puts me over and says, "Oh, Millie, you did it." And I was going on my path to prestige, as you can see in the title right there. Unless I take it off the screen, which was the story I was doing. Right, I was trying to get my own prestige by going through people that were legends in the business. So there you go. That's the first time I ever tried to wrestle, calling it on the fly. And I'll go back into, maybe we should react to that. I've done that on What Culture though, so no. I'll go through what matches I do have and we'll do what I can. Unless you don't want to see it, you can let me know. Also, make sure you like the video, share the video, subscribe. There's a bell there, ding ding. If you click it, you'll know when the video goes live because YouTube will tell you. Another wrestling match reaction is right there. Give it a click should you so fancy. Instagram, Patreon, merchandise, and Twitter is in the description. Go down there, wade through all the stuff, and you'll find the links. Otherwise, thank you as always for joining me. I enjoy sharing this stuff. I think hopefully we're building a nice little community here, and Stanley and Gerald feel the same. See you on the next one.